Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at the password goat's hijack. We're unpacking one of the most brilliant, visually stunning, and perfectly executed real-world marketing and cybersecurity crossovers in recent history. We're talking about a campaign that didn't just ask for people's attention, it completely hijacked it on live television. So if you love a good Trojan horse strategy where clever design meets a massive public service message, you are going to want to pay close attention to this one.
Picture this, right? It's game day. You're tuning into the absolute biggest football match of the season in the Ecuadorian League. We're talking the massive top derby match between Barcelona SC and Independiente del Valle. The stadiums are packed, millions are watching live on TV, the broadcast energy is just electric. And then the camera pans to the players as they run onto the pitch, but instantly you spot this incredibly bizarre visual anomaly. Look at the back of the jerseys here. Where the star player's name should be, there's just a row of asterisks.
I mean, at first glance, you're probably thinking, was this just some massive broadcast glitch? Did the jersey manufacturers literally mess up the printing? Imagine being a diehard fan, looking at your favorite marquee athlete, and seeing them rendered completely anonymous on national television. It was totally baffling. But it wasn't a mistake. There was something much deeper, and honestly, much more concerning, happening right in front of millions of viewers.
Okay, let's dive into this. To really understand the glitch, we have to look at the invisible threat lurking behind the screens of everyday people. It turns out an incredible 1 in 7 Ecuadorians use their own first or last name as their digital password. 1 in 7. Now, it's incredibly convenient, sure, but it is an absolute dream scenario for cybercriminals.
Because this habit makes people incredibly vulnerable to what cybersecurity experts call a brute force hack. Basically, this is a cyber attack method that relies on trial and error to guess logins. When your password is as obvious as the name on your birth certificate, cracking into your personal banking account isn't even a challenge for a hacker, it's practically a trivial exercise. It's this massive, systemic security flaw based entirely on human habit, which perfectly sets up why a major financial institution felt compelled to step in.
Enter Banco Pichincha. They're Ecuador's largest bank and, crucially, a major sponsor of the country's football league. Now, typically, a bank wanting to address a basic security mistake would just roll out a standard, boring public service announcement. They'd shoot a classic video spot that everyone would immediately skip or just completely ignore. But Banco Pichincha and their agency, 𝗕𝗵𝗶𝗀, knew that standard PSAs rarely actually change user habits. So they decided to completely scrap the traditional playbook and hijack the one event guaranteed to hold the nation's full, undivided attention.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because this campaign didn't just live on the pitch, it took over the streets. A standard bus stop ad mirrored the anonymous jerseys, making that core message completely inescapable. They skipped buying traditional commercial spots during halftime and instead transformed the entire sporting event into a live cybersecurity demonstration. From physical bus stops in the city displaying a player's back with asterisks, directly onto the live breathing athletes on the field. The sheer scale of this live execution is what makes it a total masterclass. It was a complete visual takeover. Every single visual element of the broadcast was compromised in real time. The physical jerseys replaced names with rows of asterisks, but they didn't stop there. On-screen broadcast scoreboards masked player info. The TV starting lineup substituted names with password symbols. Even inside the stadium, the massive big screens and the perimeter ad boards mirrored the exact same masked text throughout the pregame setup. Everywhere you expected to see a name, you saw a hidden password instead.
And the result was palpable confusion. You could actually see the Spanish text on the broadcast graphic. ¿Fue un error? Was it a mistake? For those opening minutes of the match, commentators on live television and millions of spectators at home were genuinely bewildered. They were trying to figure out why the biggest football stars in the country were running around anonymously. It was an incredibly brave move by the brand to just allow that confusion to breathe on national television.
But, that confusion was the whole point. By removing the names out of the place Ecuadorians love seeing the most, they created this irresistible mystery. The visual stunt had perfectly captured the nation's attention. They literally held millions of people in the palm of their hand, waiting for an explanation. And right at the peak of that curiosity, the Trojan horse opened and the bank dropped the ultimate educational punchline.
Across stadium screens, TV graphics, and social channels, the mystery was solved with this single powerful statement. If your password is your name, hackers already know it. And this brilliantly illustrates the core thesis of the campaign. By replacing the names on the jerseys with asterisks, they created an immediate, undeniable visual analogy between a highly visible football jersey and a hidden digital password. Your name belongs on a jersey for the world to see, not hidden behind an account login.
What happened next was just phenomenal. This single moment of television interruption immediately transformed into a massive cybersecurity conversation. Because this stunt was so visually striking, it leaped right off the football pitch and spread like wildfire across sports commentary desks, social media platforms, and digital news outlets. They successfully translated a live match interruption into a nationwide wake-up call about credential security.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer scale of the public reaction. There was an explosive 440% spike in online engagement. People weren't just passively watching, they were actively discussing, sharing, and interacting with a cybersecurity message, a topic that, let's be real, most people usually ignore entirely.
The final numbers prove just how remarkably effective this strategy was. We're talking over 1.6 million views, more than 650,000 direct interactions, and over $168,000 in free press value. An unconventional football stunt delivered far more reach, engagement, and earned media value than any traditional finger-wagging banking commercial ever could have. They made security exciting by embedding it directly into the culture.
So, the crucial point is this final number. Awareness is great, sure, but action is what actually matters. Following this campaign, the organizers reported that an absolutely jaw-dropping 14 million passwords were successfully changed. Let that sink in for a second. Because a bank decided to replace some letters with asterisks on a football pitch, 14 million digital locks were upgraded, directly protecting millions of personal banking accounts from brute force hacks.
It's a brilliant reminder that the absolute best way to teach a complex or boring topic is to meet people exactly where their attention already is and visually disrupt their expectations. Which leaves me with a question for you to think about as we wrap up this explainer. Are your own digital habits really as secure as you think? Is your name on your jersey, or is it hiding out in your password? Go check your accounts, change those predictable logins, and stay secure out there.